COVID-19 has upended global travel and brought the world to a standstill. For the first time in the history, close to 90% of the world's population now live in countries with travel restrictions. Airlines, travel companies, and the tourism sector as a whole are among the most affected businesses. An estimated 25 million aviation jobs and 100 million travel and tourism jobs are at risk. Between 5 and 7 years, worth of industry growth will potentially be lost. Many of us are under lockdown. We are wondering ourselves, asking things such as, when can I go on holiday again? But the reality is that while lockdown is difficult for all of us, we are experiencing this coronavirus outbreak equally. As per the World Travel and Tourism Council reports, the impact of the travel and tourism unprecedented projected losses for 2020 is 100.8 billion job losses, which is equal to 31% of the jobs. The loss in GDP is 2.7 trillion US dollars, which is equal to 30%. Last year in 2019, 330 billion jobs in travel and tourism, which is 1 in 10 jobs across globe. The GDP contribution was 10.3% of the global economy, which was equivalent to 8.9 US trillion dollars. With these concerns, today we at National Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Hyderabad, India, are organizing a webinar on the post-COVID-19 tourism survival versus revival. We have invited 3 professionals from across the globe to share their ideas and thoughts. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers for the day of this webinar. First, I would like to introduce Dr. Vanessa Gowreesunkar. She is the head of the Department of Hospitality and Tourism, University of Africa, Nigeria. She is also Vice President, African Union, ECOSOCC Tourism and Infrastructure Cluster. And she is also Editorial Advisory Board for International Journal of the Tourism Cities. I welcome Dr. Vanessa. Second speaker, Ms. Galina Bukovska. She is the head of the Vice Department of Baltic Travel Group Limited. She is also visiting lecturer at our University of Applied Sciences, Latvia. And third speaker would be Dr. Refaat, the Faculty of Tourism and Hotels Management, Luxor University. Now, we'll start with Dr. Vanessa from Nigeria to share her thoughts.
Okay, I hope that you can hear me.
Yeah,
we don't have any echo, right? Because we were having echo when Professor Chinnam Reddy was talking. So is it clear? My voice is clear?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So good morning, viewers and speakers. Greeting from the University of Africa, found in the beautiful state of Bayelsa in Nigeria. So at the onset, I wish to thank the National Institute for Tourism and Hospitality Management for inviting me once again to share my views and reviews on the implications of the COVID-19 pandemic on tourism. I would like to seize this opportunity to particularly thank Mahendra Reddy for being behind the screen, but he has done lots of things to be able to make this platform happening today. So special thanks to you, Mahendra. NITHM is one of the unique institutions in whole Telangana, for those who might not know, and it is the only institution specialized in tourism and hospitality management studies. And for me, it is a matter of pride to be associated to the team once again. And this is like my second home. And I always used to advocate for NITHM. We should always support NITHM because this is the only institution in Telangana supporting tourism studies, tourism research, and tourism training. So I will also take this opportunity to thank our eminent panelists like Dr. Hassan from Egypt, Ms. Galina from Latvia for sharing the platform with me. So before jumping on the COVID-19 pandemic and its impacts on the tourism industry worldwide, let's go back to history to better understand the role of pandemics, which have been ravaging world economies and of course annoyed humanity so much. In the 16th century, I did some research, some groundwork. In the 16th century, we had the American plagues, including smallpox, and 90% of the population was killed off. We had in 1890 the flu pandemic, killing 1 million of people. We then had Spanish flu in 1920. 500 million people lost their life. In 1958, we had Asian flu, another global pandemic with its root in China again. And the disease took more than 1 million lives. Then, of course, later came on swine flu, Ebola, Zika, and now that corona thing. So what I want to point out is that at that time, we did not have technology. Diseases and outbreaks were still occurring. But since we could not share it globally, we did not have WhatsApp, we did not have Facebook, we did not have technology, they contain it. I was not there, you were not there probably. We contained it, we fought it, and we survived. So my point is that it is true that we have to be worried with that coronavirus, but then we have no other choice than to accept it. So we need to strengthen our coping mechanism and collectively come up with solutions based on adaptive strategies. And I would say that the one-size-fits-all formula will never work, as different countries have different coping capacities. Even in India, you have got so many. You cannot use the same formula in Telangana and you're going to apply that formula in Delhi or in Kerala or in other places, because tourism attractions, tourism destinations, they have different specificities and they have different priorities. Now, let's talk about the COVID now. Why COVID is so different as compared to all the other pandemics which happened in the previous years and centuries? We had SARS. It was confined to China and Asia. We had Ebola. It was confined to the African nation. People were blaming Africa. Ebola is from Africa. Now, we had also Zika. Zika was from South America. But what has happened with COVID? COVID is one of those rare pandemics, that common enemy, that invisible enemy. It has hit all the major economies of the world. The whole world is disturbed. And it is not only affecting economies, it is also affecting livelihood. And this crisis has had a spillover effects on the overall tourism supply chain. And this is alarming. Because, you know, when we talk about the tourism industry, we have the airline companies attached to it, we have got hotels, we have got tour operators, we have got travel agents, we have got entertainment sectors, we have got tourist guides, we have got the small and medium enterprise. The list is really long. And this time, the whole world will have to join head together to fight this common enemy. Now, because we are talking about with an Indian audience, because NITHM is from India, let's talk about the implications for India. So I did again some ground search. I realized that the Federation of Association Indian and Tourism and Hospitality report that tourism economic value is going to be at risk at around 5 lakh crore. Of course, I don't understand the word crore, but I know it's a big number in India, crore. So probably one of you can interpret it later. And also we have got the Indian's biggest online travel agent, Make My Trip. The report that customers have postponed all their travel dates. This is also another effect. We have also got senior Vice President Abhishek Rajan. He reported 30% drop in domestic travel with maximum impact on summer destinations like Leh, Guwahati, Coimbatore, Srinagar, Amritsar, and there are so many to come. And then we also have another co-founder of the luxury holiday homes, Amit Damani. He has reported that there is major postponement of booking, cancellation of flight. The stories of migrants killed on their way back home, we all know. This is all about, I'm talking about the effect of post-COVID. It's not only on tourism, it's also on humanity. Hunger, starvation, domestic violence, sexual abuse, growth of online porns by teenagers. We talk about the gang rape, which was reported recently, psychological trauma. So this is a bit about the impacts of the post-COVID on the tourism industry, on the livelihood of people in India. Now, what about the context in Hyderabad? Let's talk about Hyderabad because NITHM is in Hyderabad. So what has happened to the Biryani, Kubani, Sherbani destination? So So let's talk a bit about it. We all know that Hyderabad is one of the world-class tourist city in India. And according to the Telangana State Tourist Development Corporation, domestic visitors in Hyderabad accounted for 1.7 million visitors in the fiscal year 2018. This is a big amount. And Hyderabad comprises tourism, natural and man-made attractions such as Ramoji Film City, Golconda Fort, Hussain Lake, Charminar Market, Salarjung Museum, and we have got so many nice tourism attractions. Now the implications for Hyderabad. So what has happened? I have again done some kind of research work, and I came to realize that major tourism attractions like in Charminar or Golconda Fort, they have closed down. Guides who used to work for the monuments are facing tough time. They have lost their job. There are approximately 20 guides associated with the Telangana Guides Association. They have reported that they are not able to survive anymore and they will no longer receive tourists, and this is a major concern for them, for their livelihood. We have hospitality and tourism organizations across the industry. They are struggling. Airlines have stopped operating. Airports are closed. Attractions such as Ramoji, Charminar are completely closed. Tourism entrepreneurs have stopped working, and all the businesses along the supply chain are badly hit. Hospitality institution like NITHM is closed and the students are suffering. They are missing their classes. This is also an impact. Hospitality, hotel no longer have booking. Events and conferences have been cancelled. I had a conference with AIM University. It has been cancelled and we don't know when it will start again. Customers are frustrated. Hotels are laying off workers. Travel agencies are shutting down. Tourist seasons are collapsing. So these are some of the major negative impacts of that COVID thing on the tourism sector in Hyderabad, in India, and even around the world. So around the world, I can share some information with you. We have got some pain points, as usually say. The WTTC estimates 75 million travel tourism jobs, which are going to be at risk globally. UNWTO reports that international tourism will go down by 20 to 30%. Around 96% of all worldwide destinations have introduced travel restrictions in response to the pandemic. 45%, that is 90 destinations, have completely closed their border. 44 destinations have introduced travel ban to passengers. 27% of destinations, 56 like, have suspended all or partially international flights into the destination. So these are some of the negative effects, the negative impacts of COVID on the tourism industry worldwide. Telangana. So from the positive side, we should not always look at the negative side. Let's balance it now. From the positive side, we see that COVID-19 has given a breathing space to tourism resources worldwide. And most environments are now restored. I will take the example of Venice. Venice was suffering from over-tourism. From one of my research work, which was published in one of the international journals, I talk a bit about how people in Venice, they could not even see the water or the color of the water. Now Venice people are reporting that the sea is blue again, and they can even see the fish swimming. In India, reports shows that Ganga River is cleaner now. The sky is blue in Delhi. The zoo of Hyderabad's elephants, lions, gorillas are very happy. They have got a break from public and over visitation. Now, what is needed? We know, now that we have an idea, we have got an insight of what is happening in India, in Telangana, around the world. Let's think a bit about what is needed. We have to think about survival, not revival. This is anyway the main title of this debate today. We need to talk about survival for now. We are not going to talk about revival of the tourism sector. We need to examine different ways to recover. We cannot use the same formula everywhere. So first thing, I feel that the incentives of the government is important. Pro-tourism policies to support tourism entrepreneurs, airlines, and other businesses are necessary. For example, in Telangana, in India, I'm sure that the Indian government are doing a lot to make the tourism industry start again. And I would say that airlines should start operating. This is really very important. There is no tourism without travel. And what we need to do is just to do some kind of education and precaution. Because if we don't start the airline, there will be no tourism. and support to organizations like NITHM. I always say that the government of Telangana, if they can hear me, the state, please support NITHM. NITHM is one of the only organization in Telangana really working for tourism training, tourism education, and tourism research. We need to have fun to be able to conduct research on post-COVID. Re-education of tourism is required. We need to re-educate the tourists. We need to re-educate our students as new business models. We need to follow guidelines from the UNWTO, the WTTC, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. We need to seek advice. Certification from International Tourism Organization is also important. We need to make our product look holistically sustainable. It has to be credible. It has to be certified. Now also destinations are called upon to set up a tourism recovery committee. I don't know to what extent they have done it at the level of the Telangana tourism. I don't know whether in India they have started it. We need to forget competition and embrace collaboration for now. Domestic tourism is the very first priority. We need to work on that. We need to join hands with partners, with stakeholders. We need to even talk with our rivals now because the objective is survival and not revival. We need to come up with new policies on health and safety. Health protocol is really important. People will not be interested to travel to a destination if you do not give them the guarantee safe and everything is fine, because otherwise they will not visit your destination. They will choose your competitors. We need to develop new tourism products, as I just said. We also need to come up with business models based on rigid, not on rigid plan, but on adaptive strategies. And finally, I think that awareness and sensitization for responsible tourism is important. Workforce need to be trained and reskilled. To summarize, I would say that in terms of the tourism industry, we have to rethink, reinvent, reorientate, and re-educate. And in a conclusion, I would like to say that COVID-19 is a radical wake-up call for humanity. And this pandemic has taught us a great lesson. The world is a global village, and we all depend on each other. And the tourism community worldwide should therefore forget competition for now and embrace collaboration, and please open the border because I need to come to Hyderabad also. Now, before closing, I would like to also invite you for a call of paper. I will take the opportunity to say that I am editing a book called Tourism Destination Management Post-COVID-19 Pandemic, Global Issues and Destination Management Solutions. So I will particularly invite the NITHM, if possible, to send your abstract. And I want to particularly invite Mahendra Reddy. He has been co-authoring 2 papers with me, and I'm sure he can come up with a 3rd one. And I would be very happy to welcome abstract from all of you. And that said, I wish to thank again the NITHM, Mahendra Reddy, Chinnam Reddy for inviting me. I will now hand over to the chair, and if you have any question, I will be always very happy to answer. Thank you, all of you, for your attention.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Vanessa. Can you able to hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I think we take the questions at 2 after the 2 speakers are over. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
So I think now thank you very much, for sharing a good thoughts on post-COVID, radical changes, what is going to occur in the tourism. Now I request Galina Bukovska from Latvia to speak.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can able to hear you, ma'am.
Okay, I prepared a little bit of slides as well. So
okay.
I will share my screen. I hope I will manage to do it. So this is what the COVID brought to us very fastly. The new technologies, actually, I would say the old one, but we were not using them so much. Now within 1 month, we managed to use different technologies. So, do you see my screen?
Yeah, we can able to.
Yes.
Yeah, do you see my screen? Just a moment. Yeah. So you could see my screen now.
Yeah,
yes?
yeah, sure.
Good, and you hear me. Once again, good morning, everyone. My name is Galina Bukovska. I'm from Latvia. We have less than 11:50 in our country, so we still have morning. And I welcome you here today, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'm working for the company called Baltic Travel Group, and also I have a great chance to share my 20-year experience working in meeting and event industry with students from Valmiera University. So I'm guest lecturer there, and I'm giving the practical tourism knowledge of MICE industry for the students of Valmiera University. I prepared a short presentation, and this would be a little bit of a story, a little bit of a fairy tale. Let me tell it. Human beings are very interesting beings. So having an intellectual capacity, we are not sitting at one place. Projects, we are putting them every day, aiming to prove that we are the best and we could solve any target. For many centuries, leaders were achieving goals with absolute power, like kings and queens, with going to different countries, conquer different continents, bringing slavery. They were achieving their goals by using force, blackmail, using the religion as well. And finally, they used the war as an instrument to conquer and to prove their power. Death, anger, humiliation, scare, this is how it was. But as intellectual humans, we learn, and in the modern world, we found another way how to achieve our goals. And this way we call today motivation. We stopped the violence and we tried to motivate people to help us to achieve our goals. We used such instruments as incentives, as communications, as meeting together, showing our positions. We use it through publicity, and we also use IT technologies like social media, internet, also to show why we are better, why we are stronger, and why people should listen us and go with us to achieve our goals. So we became more human. And by this, we created the world of MICE, the world of meeting, the world of incentives, the world of conferences, conventions, exhibitions, and we are living very successfully in this world, doing peaceful business, helping people to achieve the goals by team building activities, by creating interesting program, by tasty food, quality flights, outstanding accommodation and hospitality. MICE became the significant part of tourism and hospitality industry. 50% of business trip became MICE trip. They were dedicated for congresses, for meetings, for participating in exhibitions, for participating in incentive programs. MICE helped global travel and tourism sector to reinforce its role as a driver of economic growth and job creation. And we could see by the statistic of 2019 that 1 of 10 jobs around the world is provided by travel and tourism sector. 10% of global GDP is travel and tourism sector. We even are almost 10% of total experts, and we are almost 30% service experts. So it's huge industry. And each country has its infrastructure for tourism. And this infrastructure in Baltic states, I would say, last 5-10 years developed rapidly. We were very successful and we were very lucky. nothing was going so easy, nothing was going so smooth, and as in every business, we faced different kinds of problems. We faced the cost savings, the programs became shorter, we had to promote ourselves on the global exhibitions and travel fairs. We had to prove that these three small countries are interesting for MICE industry, but we did it. We learned instead of a competition was very hard. Also, the technologies were a very big challenge for us, but we even managed this. And politics and economy make it more difficult. We faced different kind of economic crises, terrorism, different kind of restrictions from pharma, from IT industries. We know it that there are some restrictions on choosing hotels, destinations, but we managed to be flexible. We managed to overcome these challenges, and we still were doing our business, and still business were growing because we were positive, we created products, we found the new markets, and we were growing every year. And actually, this life was happens until the February this year. Nobody, even in our nightmares, couldn't imagine that just in 1 month, our world, the world of mice, will turn to the world of Corona. And not only in Baltic states, but in the whole world. It came suddenly, it came unexpectedly, it brought scare, it brought chaos, it brought instability. The world faced health and economic crisis. But tourism was hit the most hard. And millions of jobs were at risk and are at risk at the moment. Flight stops, borders closed, hotels closed, restaurants are not operated. It's not only in my country, it's all around the world. Travel agency, incentive agencies, we were forced to put our staff on unemployment. We see that on the moment we have more than 3 million cases of Corona. We have more than 250,000 deaths around the world. And it's not just somewhere in China, it's also in Europe, it's in US, it's in Brazil, it's in Russia. So everywhere, we are one world, face one problem. The profitability dropped in all industries. Average is -11. In tourism, I think it's even a little bit more. Terrible, scary, is the end for our tourism industry. And sometimes we think it's the end for MICE because corporates are very attentive to all this and very sensitive to all epidemic wars and other challenges. And we could think it's the end. We could close the borders. We still keep. We could forget about the business. But taking into consideration that tourism is the biggest engine for the job creation in the world, I think it shouldn't be the end. I think it's a possibility. It's in new opportunities. And there is the light at the end of the tunnel. But to reach this light, we should not stop. We should keep going ahead. And if I will look on the Baltic states, we see that this week, actually, on the 6th of May, Baltic states agreed that they open from the 15th of May, they will open the borders between Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. So we are opening our regional borders. So we consider that we will be able to return to local meetings in autumn this year, or less. From the 15th of May in Latvia, our government allowed to hold the meetings up to 25. So step by step, slowly, we start to return to our normal life. It will take time. I think that we will return to international meetings in our Baltic region in spring 2021. Unfortunately, this year it will not be possible because the borders are still closed, and even if we open our regional borders, the international borders are still closed. But the happy news is that our local airline company, which operated before Corona, operated more than to 90 destinations with direct flights, will restart their flights from 15th of May. They restart flights between Baltic states, they restart flights to Frankfurt, and they will restart flights to Scandinavia. So these are very good, these are very positive signals. Definitely, to go forward, we need to do some changes. And as Vanessa said, we already survived, the world survived the epidemics through all the centuries. And this is just one of, and it's like a challenge to the whole world, but we are with new technologies. We could operate and we could react faster than it was 10 centuries ago. And we need to reconsider the marketing strategies, not only in our companies, we need to reconsider it on the government level as well. On the moment in Latvia, our government and tourism industry is working very closely together. So we have advisory board from the industry working with the Ministry of Economy, with the Ministry of Finance, with the Ministry of Social Affairs. Government making fast decisions, maybe not 100% successful because we never faced such problem, but they provided the support for the staff. So the companies don't need to send for unemployment people. The government have a subsidiary, so monthly subsidiary for the employees in order to keep the working places. So that after the crisis, we as employees, we don't need to look for employers to look for the new employees, because the tourism business, it's a business of, we don't have a lot of technologies. We don't have any big machines to produce. Our machines are our people. So this is where we got already the support. We are working together to think about subvention programs in order to attract more and more congresses and events to the area. So government is creating the program financially, each events which will be brought to the region. The other thing we see now during these 2-3 months when we faced the corona, that technologies have the strong influence on our business, and we need to use them. And I think that will change. And this is very important now, because this will bring to the new trainings, developing the new skills for our staff. So meetings, I'm very sure that meeting face will not disappear. People will need to communicate face to face. People need to share. People need to share their because there are some Also, I agree with Vanessa that the implementation of security and hygiene standards will play a big role. To be ready not only for the security protocols which we faced after 9/11, we need health protocols.
Can you please everyone
This
keep
is
the
very
mute?
important. It's important for destinations, it's important for venues, it's important for the hotels. This is a big part we need to create. The services, already, if we will look on the Baltic states has rather high level of services in tourism, but still we don't need to relax. We still need to keep our services on high level, because after COVID, all of us, all the world, all the destination, we will become very huge competitors, one to each. As I mentioned, professional staff and training. Also, very important that our clients faced a lot of problems when they need to cancel their reservation, when they needed to get back their deposits paid for the events. And some of the hotels, some of our service providers were very understandable and did collection free of So flexibility, proactivity, collaboration, and good mental and physical health. This is what we need to survive now during the COVID and also after the COVID. I think positive, all fairy tales end with very positive. So, and I believe that next spring 2021, Latvia will host the hockey championship and the whole world will go successfully with international meetings. And we will be proud that we solved this problem, this challenge, COVID-19, very successfully. Thank you for attention and welcome to Latvia and welcome to Valmiera University.
Thank you, Galina, for sharing about like Baltic nations. And we are going to have the questions at the end of this program. Now I'm going to invite Dr. Hassan Refaat to share his experience and thoughts. Dr. Hassan Refaat.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Reddy, for the invitation. And I'd like to thank also Dr. Mahendra Reddy for the coordination. He's very patient. I used to send him like, too many emails in order to get some information, and he used to respond immediately, to be honest. Thanks, Vanessa, for your talk, and thanks, Galina, for your talk. I got a lot of information from your talks. My name is Hassan. I used to work, of course, from Egypt. I used to work for the Ministry of Tourism for a specific period of time, for a long period of time, actually. And then I quit the Ministry of Tourism to work as a consultant at the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, for heritage and tourism. And now I work as a lecturer at Faculty of Tourism and Hotel Management at Luxor University in Egypt. I think that you hear me, right?
Yeah, we can able to hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think that we're passing through an unprecedented situation because of the outbreak of the coronavirus. All countries all over the world have taken some preventive measures in order to control the spread of the infection. And among these preventive measures, of course, and the first thing that has been done by all the countries is to stop operating the international flights. Because tourism is believed to be one of the most important reasons for spreading out the infection. So if there is no international flight, there is no business, because you know that the tour operator and travel agencies are the major distribution channel for airline products. So this has caused, as we all know, a significant impact on the tourism sector. Suddenly we found the tourism sector as a zero income industry. Suddenly we found that the tourism sector, around 50 million, Vanessa has mentioned like 75 million jobs at risk, according to WTTC, World Travel and Tourism Council. Also, because of the panic that has been caused by the international media, all the tourists has actually, they have canceled their upcoming trips and asked for the refund for the amount that they have paid to book their tours. The matter extended to the cancellation to the major events, cultural events, conferences, and exhibition. And all of these problems have resulted in great revenue loss for all the stakeholders, for the tour operator, for the travel agents, for the fair organizers, for the transportation company, for each and everyone who got involved in the tourism sector. Actually, in my point of view, what makes this pandemic very unique among all the crises that hit the tourism sector, as Vanessa said, that we don't have any specific information when the situation is over, because it is depend on the discovery of a vaccine or a drug that can deal with this pandemic. Also doesn't have a geographical limits, so it swept the whole world at the same time, so it caused that the tourism sector to be totally paralyzed. So but at the same time, and in my point of view, according to my little experience, the tourism sector is a very resilient economic sector, as it passed through many crises at international and national level. We were, even in Egypt, we were passing through different crises: tourism attack, something related to safety and security, different regions all over the world have faced natural disasters, have faced a disease outbreak, and each time the tourism sector is recovered in a short period of time, because of all the touristic destinations have now what's so-called the accumulated experience. The accumulated experience that enables the touristic destination to deal, or at least to mitigate, the impact of such crises. So certainly tourism will come back because the people like tourism. They want to go for a holiday. They want to reward themselves because for being kept or locked out at homes for a long period of time. But the question here that we have to ask ourselves: what should be done in order to mitigate or to deal with such crisis? And I think also, in my point of view, one of the most important issues that has to be done is we have to accept the current situation as it is, and we have to deal with the tourism issue that may hinder the tourism growth in general in the tourism destination. So when the coronavirus is over, we will find ourselves that we are ready to get benefited from the tourism sector at the maximum level. I think that when it comes to the issues that we have to deal with in the tourism sector, it can be divided into two major action on the international level and on the internal level. If we started to talk about the international level, the actions that should be taken on the international level, I think that the key word is the communication. Keep the communication with your customer and with your partner also, with the tour operator, with the travel agents. Tell them all the information available right now. Tell them about the measures that you have taken in order to keep the security and the safety of your customer. Tell them about the effort that you have done in order to sanitize all the hotels, all the natural and cultural attraction. You know that the communication, we all know that communication is very essential when it comes to the tourism industry. The second thing, actually, I feel that we have to diversify now. It's time to diversify our source market. Because if we just look at the outbreak, you will find that the major source market like China, like United States of America, like Europe, has badly hit. They have all badly hit. So it's now the real time to search for alternative, to search for different source market. Because if we just depend on those traditional source market, may takes longer time in order to be recovered from this pandemic. I think that the third thing that when it comes to the actions that should be taken is keep marketing your destination. Never stop marketing your destination. And we have to make full use of such opportunity. Millions of people are sitting in front of screens. Millions of people are searching for the internet to to get some information about touristic destination, to prepare themselves, to take action after the coronavirus is over. So now we have a precious chance to deliver our message and to become sure that our message will be heard, will be listened to. So the Minister of Tourism, let me appreciate what has been done by the Minister of Tourism here in Egypt. The Minister of Tourism and Antiquities launched an online campaign on its website and social media platform under the title Experience Egypt from Home, posting virtual tours and guided tours inside some of the Egyptian monuments and archaeological sites in order to stimulate the demand on the Egyptian destination when the situation is over. Moving to the internal actions that should be done, in my point of view, one of the issues that has to be done is raising the skills of those people who are working, who are currently work at the tourism sector. We have to provide them with training program. We have to inform them how to deal with the current situation when the situation is over. We have to learn to teach them how to take the preventive measures to self-protection and for the customer protection as well. The second issue is the hygiene, and the hygiene is the key word in the post-coronavirus phase. So I feel that we need to tell the customers what are the measures that we have taken in order to maintain the health and prevent infection at the airport, at hotels, at cultural and natural resources. We need to tell them that we are managed to equip all the touristic places with all the issues that might concern the customer. Like availability of sanitizers and face masks. I think also a certificate or a certain proof has to be given to the people who are currently working at the tourism sector to ensure that those people are not infected with coronavirus or any other disease. We have to realize that the competition will be great. It's going to be a fierce competition among all the destinations to attract the maximum number of tourists in the wake of coronavirus. And the main concern of the customer, I think, the proof, is the proof, it's not, I think, that the customer will search for the safety and security, will search for the hygiene. So if we don't meet the expectations of the customer, I think we will never be an attractive destination, and he is going to search for alternative destination. Also, research. Tourism is a science, and we have to do a lot of research about the behavior of the customer, because the behavior of the customer will be totally different. For example, I think there will be less interested to visit a well-known attraction which attract a big number of tourists, because the infection possibility may be increased in such sites. So to which extent did we manage to offer something new, like the less known destination, for example, where the customer can keep the social distance, you know? So it is important to diversify our exhibited product. As Vanessa have mentioned, the epidemic disease, in my point of view, has proved that the domestic tourism, especially at the early stage of the pandemic, is when the pandemic is over, is really essential because of different reasons. Because of the financial resources that has been badly hit, so they must, I mean, the customer must most probably will search for domestic tourism instead of international tourism. Also, most travel insurance company, I think that they will stop to sell travel insurance because they are not sure if they are going, if the customer will catch coronavirus or not, or if the trip will be canceled or not for any reason. And if this happens, they have to, you know, to pay a lot of money to reimburse the customers. At the same time, the destination itself might put some restrictions on the international holiday maker. For example, I think they may be asked to deliver a certificate of immunity, or a certificate or a medical certificate that ensures that they are they don't suffer from the coronavirus. They are not infected. The last thing that I wanna to share with you is supporting the sector, the private sector. As we all know that the private sector has badly hit, and the government have to support this important sector, because it is required from the private sector to be alive, to keep paying the salaries for the people, for the employees, not to lay off the employees, and at the same time there is no business, there is no income. So, and let me here refer to the effort that has been done by our Ministry of Tourism, by the Egyptian Minister of Tourism, and appreciate what they have done in this regard, as they have taken some decisions that is related to the private sector. Among these decisions is to drop different kind of taxes on hotel and tourist establishment for 6 months, and also to postpone all the payments that has to be paid by the hotel establishment, like the utility payment for 6 months also. And also they have exempted all the bazaars and the cafeterias located inside the archaeological sites from paying the monthly rent until the tourism is resumed again. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts with you. It's a great honor, and I'm over.
Thank you, Dr. Refaat, for sharing your views. Now, from audience, any questions you would like to ask any of this panel?
Professor, shall I ask you a question? Hello?
Yeah.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can able to hear you, sir. Professor Kumaran, yes.
Yeah. This is for Dr. Vanessa. My question is, we are all discussing about the coronavirus, COVID-19, and the impact. Now it is severely damaged our tourism industry. There is no doubt. And if you look at this coronavirus, there are two options are there. One thing is the virus which can automatically leave, which can automatically vanish, number one. Number two is the virus, if you find out a vaccine, the virus will be get eliminated. There are the two options are available. Third one is we have to manage the pandemic situation. If it exists up to 2023, we need to manage. It's very, very difficult. People will not go for any tourism activity. They will not involve in any tourism activity. It will get severely affected. If you assume these three conditions, what could be the strategy for developing our tourism industry? Can you understand, Dr. Vanessa?
I have not understood the question. You have stated three things about the pandemic. Now, what is the question? I could not get the question.
What could be the post-corona strategies we have to formulate for the development of tourism?
Yeah, so I feel that whatever I'm saying is not conclusive. It's just indicative based on statistics, information from worldwide sources. So I believe, just like I was saying at the beginning, we need to restart the tourism economy. It's not only me, it's even the world famous economists are talking about starting the economy once again. We cannot say that we have to stop the world because of one pandemic. It is true that the pandemic has been destroying people livelihood or whatever, but we need to find a solution. I think that education and precaution are very important. Education means we have to educate people, tourism stakeholders, how we are going to operate. We need to start with new business models. I'll give you an example. For example, at the airport, we have an airport. Airport should be prepared now to any post-pandemic problems. So this is Corona now. Probably later on we can have another pandemic. Does it mean that another time we will have another pandemic and we're going to lock down again? So this will continue like that. Every 1, 2, or 3 years we will keep on doing lockdown. So this is something which should not happen. So I think this is a lesson, and I feel that all the governments around the world, all the regions, tourism regions, destination, they have to come up together, and we should start opening the border. Even we cannot open it at large, we have to start, because we need to think about all those tourism operators, travel agents, tour operators, the travel agencies, they have to work. And we have, among them, we also have the informal tourism sector. We have got those small entrepreneurs, they are depending on those tourism businesses. So we need to give incentive to people. And I was also discussing with one of my travel manager. She was with me in another webinar in Amity. I told her, you're talking about social distancing in a plane. A plane is a big thing, and we need to have to fill the seats. If the plane seats are not filled, the plane, when it will operate, the cost of operation is high. So I thought that instead of running the plane at 50%, we can run it at 70%. Then what we should do, we should give passengers a big overcoat. So passengers can sit, but not too close, but at least instead of eliminating one row, they can still sit on one row, but in between, the passenger which is sitting, we don't have a passenger, which means that the passenger should be given an overcoat. You're protected. At least, the plane will be operating. When they come back to the destination, people will still be, operating in terms of the tourism businesses, because it's really very important. Otherwise, all economies will be just broken down, and what we are going to do? So I think we have to think from another perspective as well. I hope that I have answered your question.
Fine. Thank you, Vanessa.
Precaution. Education
clarification.
Yeah, education precaution. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Kumaran. Any other audience want to ask any questions? If you want to ask any question, you can able to put in the post. Otherwise, you can able to do chatting also there. Questions.
May I add to Vanessa what you said? I also think that we will be forced to open the borders sooner or later, step by step. different countries, different maybe speed of opening the borders, not only because tourism, actually because people can't, in this global world, we achieved rather high level of globalization. So people now can't imagine that they are closed in their four walls. So they need to go and they need to communicate.
I would like to add to Galina. This is really very true, Galina, because I take my own example. I am an own example. I am sitting here in Nigeria alone in a house. So many times I feel really depressed. I feel very low. I want to go back home because I think just like me, there are so many people who are stuck somewhere and they want to travel and they want to go back home. They want to see their family and they want to continue their business. So sitting at home has also created some kind of psychological disorders in some people. And as I have mentioned, you must have seen in some of the media sources what has happened. People are sitting at home and they are doing some kind of domestic violence going on because they are confined together. They are frustrated. We have got gang rape. They're organizing gang rape, and fortunately they have been stopped. I saw that from NDTV. We have got all kind of very bad things also coming up, because people, they don't have anything to do. They are just sitting and they are confined and they are doing bad things as well. So which means that it's very important to think from that perspective as well. It's not only about tourism, it's also about people.
This is the time actually, because I think the first shock for all governments was how to stop to spread the virus. Now when they more or less bordered it, so then they have a little bit free their minds what to do next. And this is not only with the governments, this is also with the companies, because the first thing when we faced this crisis was what to do, how to survive, how to keep the company not to go for bankruptcy. So we also like stop all operations, and we talked a lot with people. We didn't do any marketing and sales. Now we are ready to clients to proceed to show the country, to do it virtually, to be ready to prepare products and etc. So I think it's a big challenge for everybody in this situation. First of all, to keep mental health and to keep human, because I think when the people, because it's also nobody, I think it would be a lot of statistics and researches, not only on tourism, but also on how it influenced the people, because most of the people sitting on internet, most of the young generation, they were not communicating face to face a lot. They were communicating through the internet. Now they are there 100% almost. So how it influenced their mental health, their psycho, because I think this is the only start. I think after 2, 3, 5 years, we will see the results of not of virus itself. We will be healthy. We will find the opportunity to have some treatment, because I'm in rather tight contact with Homeopathy Association here, because we're doing the Congress next year. All of the homeopaths saying so. We will prove that you could have the treatment of this virus, but we will be faced with all the mental stuff, and this is very dangerous, and we don't know what kind of people we will get after 3-5 years. So and this is important to keep communicating and to keep meeting the people. And this is the only thing which could also stable this psycho situation.
Yeah, we have got a couple of questions from the participants here. First question is that, regarding the NITHM, I'm going to answer that question now. How NITHM is going to take precautions post-lockdown? We have got a UGC gave a clear the protocol, how we can able to manage the colleges and universities after the post lockdown. Strictly, we want to follow the same protocols as per the UGC, the government of India and the local government gave it to us. So when the classes starts in the month of maybe June ending, So we are going to follow the protocols completely in the campus. Yeah, the other question to the panelists here now, like how will graduates in tourism and hospitality industry find jobs this year? Do you think there are opportunities for us students and fresh graduates or no?
So I would
Any
like
three
to
speakers
answer.
can,
Yes,
yeah,
I would
please.
like to answer this question.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all know that we are going through a crisis. So students, this is your opportunity. This is your time. Come together and try to be creative. I think that this pandemic will teach you to become entrepreneur. So try to come up with new things. Try to think in terms of businesses. There are so many things that can be done, because if you're going to wait for jobs to open up for you, it might take a long time. But from another side, it might also be possible that because we are having issues with the pandemic, probably the government or private sector would want to open a cell or a unit to have researchers, to have people to investigate the impacts and try to get people for example, in terms of training people with new business model. But this is something which comes a bit later. But as a student, I know that you don't have too much of experience for now. So if you think in terms of having a job, it might take you some time. So I would think that you should probably come up together, like you do your group assignment. Try to think how you can become an entrepreneur. You know, you can become an entrepreneur. You can also use technology and try to sell, I don't know, so many products can be sold online. So many things can be done. I'm talking about tourism product, of course. You can create virtual tours. For example, let's say Charminar, it's a market, and we don't know who are the people who are managing Charminar. You as a student, you can go and take pictures and make your videos and propose virtual tours of Charminar against a fee. There are so many things that can be done. But at the same time, Professor Chinnam, Reddy, I would like to suggest something. It's very important. I mentioned at the very beginning that NITHM is only one institution, I think, in the whole Telangana to be training tourism and hospitality students. Why don't you take this opportunity? Why don't you take this position and try to come up with the deliberations that we have had today and submit something to the Telangana tourism minister, or the one who represents the tourism sector? So probably I raise my hand. I will be very happy to be with you to form part of that project. Why don't we start something? Why don't we ask the Telangana tourism people that we need to conduct a survey, we need to have a team, and we are going to gather all the deliberations that we have had today, and we try to do something. We try to investigate the post-pandemic impacts on tourism, and we do it from the point of view of NITHM, because you have the legitimate position to do it. So you can use this platform and you deliberate, you write a report. Probably Mahendra Reddy can help. He's very sharp at it, I'm sure. And we can do it, I think. This is a very good opportunity to start something.
Yeah, thank you for your suggestion. Like Vanessa will definitely going to do. And I think we'll just complete these questions. I'll come back to you regarding that privately also. Now, other question is that what is the impact of COVID-19 on the world economy at large, and how much time it takes to recover? Any of these three speakers can able to answer, or even other people can able to answer.
I think that, as I have mentioned, there is no specific time to be recovered. No one can, can predict when exactly the situation is over, because it is depending on the discovery of the vaccine or a certain kind of drugs to, to deal with such pandemic. The effect on the economy is huge. Let me deliver the example of Egypt. Egypt, 11% of our GDP is from tourism. Egypt, the tourism sector provide around 3 million jobs for the Egyptian. The tourism sector is totally paralyzed in Egypt. And the people started to lay off the workers, those people who are working in the tourism sector, because there is no income. So it's great, actually, a negative impact on the economy, especially for those countries that depend on tourism, or which consider tourism is a very economic sector for them. For Egypt, for a destination like Luxor, like Aswan, like Hurghada, like Sharm el-Sheikh, these are the destinations that totally depend on tourism. The main source of income is tourism. So now the people are suffering, you know, the people, they can't find their source of income. And we are trying at, I mean, the Minister of Tourism, together with the private sector, to find the formula that enables the private sector to keep the employees to pay at least 50% of their salaries. We know, and the minister told them that we know that you are suffering, but we don't want to lay off the skilled workers, because when the activity, when the tourism sector will be resumed, it's gonna be a problem again to find the skilled workers, to search for those people who can perform the task well in a professional way. Thank you.
Yeah, the next question is that how the promotion, education of travel industry would be the post-COVID-19? How to overcome the fear of COVID-19 to travelers?
Okay, let me answer. I think the only way to overcome the fear of travelers is to give them assurance. So how we are going to give them assurance? For example, destinations at their airport, they should be able to have proper equipment to do medical screening. So if I am a tourist, I will never be interested to travel to a destination where I don't have information about the medical situation. For example, when you're traveling, education is very important. From the level of the country from which you're traveling to the country where you are traveling, I think that from that point to the destination point, it is really very important that in between, we give assurance to the tourists or the travelers that we are trying to give them the medical test, and people who are not producing a medical certificate should not be allowed to travel. And also the World Health Organization might be of help. For example, tourism destinations should be able to relate with the World Health Organization along with the United Nations World Tourism Organization. They are providing valuable advice how to proceed in terms of restoring assurance among travelers. This is really very important. And as I'm saying, health certificate is very important. And then at the point when we are receiving the tourists or the travelers, we should have some kind of quarantine which is going on, and which is good. But that long quarantine of 14 days, I'm not so sure about it. I'm not an expert in those medical things. But probably we can reduce depending on situation. And also that social distancing, very important. And we have to use our, just like World Health Organization saying, we have to continue to use our mask, try to be away, don't gather too much. So if we try to observe these things, probably little by little, that confidence will come back again. But anyway, we have to start from somewhere. So we need to have a first group of travelers to do the traveling first, and this might give confidence to the other travelers. And this has to happen very soon, hopefully.
But Vanessa, let me just ask a question. If you have taken the appropriate measures, all the appropriate measures to ensure that you are safe and everything has been put in place, I mean the masks, I mean the sanitizers, everything. But at the same time, the cases that has reported positive for the coronavirus in your destination is high, is a big number. So I think when it comes to the numbers are talking, you know. It's difficult to convince the customers that you have taken the appropriate measure to keep the safety and security of the customer, but at the same time, you have been reported with a big number of the coronavirus for the people who have the coronavirus. You can understand me, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So,
so please complete.
This first have. I think the most important issue is to have is to be or to manage to decrease the number of the positive coronavirus at your destination first, and then to tell the customers that you have taken the appropriate measure in order to be to come with something credible, you know. But At the same time, you're telling them that you have the measure, but the number are getting high, so you are not credible enough to be, you know, to be trusted.
Yeah, so true. It's like a contradiction. It's a paradox, which means from one side, please come to my destination, you're safe, and then on the other side, media is showing. So I feel that sometimes media also we have to check out with them. I was watching a program on NDTV again on Mumbai. There was a reporter who came and explained how there was the number of corona patients were increasing based on some numbers, but those numbers were not too credible. But unfortunately, as I am telling you, it's a paradox. So we are, as tourism experts, we are interested to have our tourists, we are interested to get our business started very soon. So we really need, I think that education and precaution is really very important. And as you are saying, you're rightly saying that from one side, you're having that the number is increasing, being reported by the media. So this is also something quite difficult to manage. And I think that people who are quite wiser than me should come together and try to find solution. But our job is try to restore confidence and to take precaution, and education, as I say, is really very important. But we should start from somewhere.
Yes.
But I think that you can't, you know, like we should be true, and we should be honest that first, what will happen, the concentration will be with domestic travelers. And when students asking, do we have a future? So yes, you have a future, but you should look you should reconcentrate your business. So on the moment, we should tell the truth for ourselves, and we should be honest with our customers. The domestic traveling will restart, but international traveling, we will not have a lot. There are people who will travel anyway. I have some of my friends, and they said, we are not afraid of Corona, we will fly and we will go and everything will be going on. So, and they were traveling in March and come back in the middle of April, and nobody was, I don't know if they were infected, but they were not, they were feeling well. So, but definitely the corporate business will not start this year, definitely. They will wait, because the corporate business, they are responsible for their employee whom they bring to the destination, and they might to pay big insurance expenses. So this is why you should understand the clients. They will not start to travel until they will feel very safe. Even like in Baltic states, there are not a lot of cases. In Latvia, we have just 890 people infected, and we have only 18 deaths. So it's very good result for, and we are bordering with the most of Europe, with Russia, which has cases increasing every day. So, but we should accept that this situation will be like this. The only thing is, we need to talk that this will end sometime, maybe in half a year, or in 3 months, or in 2 months. For each country, it would be different. And for each country, the solution they will find would also be different, because I'm not sure if our government today, now evaluating the situation in whole Baltic states, they decided that they will open the borders, but they're not opening the borders for Italy, for Spain, for US. So there's still, one point is, if their foreign tourists will come to your destination, another point if your destination will open the borders for these tourists, where the cases are rather high. So I think it's not anymore just economical, it's political question, and it's health question. And it's like, and then I think media task and our task is to make the situation so that when it will be calmed down, to make people psychologically ready to accept each other, because it could be like HIV virus. I remember, like we were in Soviet, still in the Soviet bloc. The first people who brought HIV, they decided that these are people from abroad. So all people who were coming from abroad, they were enemies. So and psychologically, people didn't accept them. So our task is to prepare the people to accept others when this pandemic will end and when the borders will open. That we are all the same, don't afraid of each other. If this person came from Italy where there were high number of cases, it doesn't mean that he is ill, should accept him. Because I was in January, I was in Scandinavia and we were in hotel and it was already in China, the virus, and there were a lot of Chinese groups. And you could feel this, how to say, in the air, you could feel that the people, the Europeans looking on Chinese like something bad because there was virus there. So I think the main thing is to prepare the society that we are one world, all of us could have this disease and we accept this people. Because there were cases where people didn't want to work in hospitals because of virus. So this is a big psychological thing as well. So it will not be enough just to open the borders. And when you said that people should stay 14 days in quarantine, so this will not promote them to come and to travel. So I think a lot of technologies and more they will discover this virus, more we have chance to continue to our tourism life.
I think also that we have a little bit to change our strategy. Let me talk about my country. We are depending on mass tourism, where a big number of tourists come through tour operator or travel agencies. So mass tourism now, I feel that it will not be such comfortable type of tourism for the customers, because they will feel that there is a big number of people within the same trip, no social distance will be available. There is a great possibility to get infected if someone is already infected with coronavirus. So we have to change a little bit our strategy. Let's not to focus on the number of the tourists. Let's focus on the quality of the tourists. Yes, I know that there are some people, some countries all over the world, they depending on mass tourism. At the end of the season, they wanna to say that we have been visited by millions and millions of tourists. But the actual income at the same time, besides the destruction of natural and cultural resources, now the current situation imposes that we have to come up with a new strategy that focus on the quality, on less number of tourists, to keep them or to provide them with the insurance that there is a social distance, there is no possibility to get infected, or there is less possibility to get infected, because you are not just a member in a group that consists of like 50 or 60%, whereas there is a high possibility to get infected.
This is, I mean, like, Hassan, it's in your hands, because if I look on my destinations, so we have never been cheap destination, and for us to compete on big tenders, for example, from Russia, when they had possibility to choose between Egypt, Turkey, and Baltics never have been for them the destination when they could bring a lot of people, because they said it's expensive. We better go for all inclusive in Turkey or Egypt. So yes. But I think it's the ball is on your side. I mean, you are the leading countries of mass tourism, of charter tourism. So
it's Galina, it takes time, because actually the competition is huge, and when it comes to the Mid-Eastern countries, I mean Turkey and Morocco, to Tunisia, Egypt, I think that we are selling the same products. So we wanted to get like a competitive advantage over our competitors. This is what happened. I'm telling you what happened already. So we started to sell our product with a relatively small amount of money in order to attract the maximum number of people, because we feel that with the maximum number of people, we can get a lot of revenue and we can, maximize our economy. So in order now to take the step and to decide to shift the strategy from the mass tourism to target a niche market, for example, it takes time. And I think that in order to convince the customers that who already know that Egypt is a cheap country, to convince him now that we are selling the product with a relatively high price, it takes time also, because he's searching for, what has been done for, for raising the prices of the product. I get familiar with Egypt with a certain amount of money for the package tour, This is what I would like to say.
No, you are right. You are right, and I think that tourism will change. So people will also. I mean, like Vanessa said, this is not just. This is time to think about how we will live next years, next hundreds of years, because we were developing this. I mean, like. Everybody, I don't know how in your countries, but in my country, everybody had to travel at least 3-4 times per year somewhere. I mean, summer holidays with family, going for skiing somewhere, then going to the Europe for New Year and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I mean, like people were like mad about the traveling. What is nice for the industry, but they forgot. I mean, like, if you will look on Japanese who are making pictures everywhere and just pin where they were and compete how many countries they visited within 5 years, this was just for some click. There was nothing inside. If you will ask them what was the difference between Prague and Riga, they will even not tell you, because they were not concentrated on the country. They were concentrated on the number of the cities they visited. And this is the same. So the motivation of traveling, the personal motivation of traveling should change. I want to travel. Why? Because I'm interested in this country. Why I go to Egypt? Because they have fantastic historical background. They have fantastic architectural stuff. I would never find it anywhere else. But it's not just to lay near the pool, eat, drink, and behave like an animal sometimes. Yes, we experienced this. So all this was like Scandinavians were coming to the Baltics just not because they like the architecture, they like something, but because the alcohol here is 5 times cheaper than in Norway. I mean, like, this was the motivation. So, and it's from one point, yes, nice, it's economy, but from other point, it's a pity, because tourism and traveling, it's a little bit more than cheap alcohol and food. So I think the motivation, the reason for traveling should be changed. And maybe it will be because if we talk about flights, somebody in comments wrote about will the packages become cheaper? Yes and no. It's difficult to predict, because definitely I think flights will be more expensive, because they need to invent the security. They can't sell the whole aircraft. They will have at least 30-40% less of passenger they could afford on the board than it was. So the flights would be more expensive. I think hotels will be cheaper. If I look on the moment, I see the offers from hotels which they are sending now. So it's almost twice time cheaper in Riga than it was before. Hotel is happy to see any client this year. So you could get like for 30-40 euros per room per night, including breakfast, for the Radisson, for example, which was like 90 euros. So it depends. It's difficult to predict, but the motivation of traveling should change. It's not just cost to travel, just to say, yes, you were abroad, I also. People today, I saw my friends on Instagram, on Facebook, putting fantastic pictures, and I'm asking where it is. And they said it's just here, 70 kilometers from our home. I am the specialist of inbound in Latvia, didn't know about this place. So that means that we still have so many undiscovered places around us. And I think we should concentrate on the moment on domestic tourism if we want to make money. So this is the first thing. We should think about technologies for my business, because meetings will be virtual this year, unfortunately. And we should be ready to hybrid meetings. We should be ready to invent these technologies, and we need to have the young staff, the people who would orient in IT meetings, who could know how to handle them. So this is very important, and for students, this is the huge field to be in, because for us, when we are like 50, 60 years old, we don't understand these technologies. We are not used to them. The young 20 years guys, they don't need even a big trainings for that. They feel how they work. So this is very important, and I think also the project manager of the meeting or of event, it will not be enough just to know the venue. Now it is virtual venue, and virtual venue, these are technologies. So you should become the specialist of virtual venues, because Zoom offering, WebEx offering, Microsoft Team offering, I don't know, other stuff developing, and in IT industry this will develop, but they will be they will need people who could explain customers how to use their technologies, who will be able to sell technologies to the customers. Meeting industry, this is something new. So for students, it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. This is the last question we'll take here before concluding now. Is the travel going to get cheaper post-pandemic to attract tourists?
I think that, let me answer, though I'm not so sure if I will give the correct answer. It depends. I think it depends on the government, because, you know, at the very beginning of the pandemic, at the very start, it was around January, February, when the airplanes started to stop their operation. People were talking, online sources from so many places. They said that because, you know, the plane, they are no longer going full, we need to charge a higher fare. So this is one part of the story. Now, if we have higher fare, only people who are very rich will be able to travel. I must tell you that according to BBC World News, I was watching the other day, there are quite a number of people who are very interested, still interested to travel. And they are even ready to pay a double fare to travel, which means that traveling can still take place, but it's going to be just a niche market. People who are very rich will be able to travel, because if the airline company, they will charge higher fares, it's going to be applicable for those people. But what about those people who are not able to travel because they cannot afford that amount? Then probably, I don't know, individual government should be able to come up with some kind of packages, motivation flights or something like that. But, you know, it's all about politics, just like Galina was saying. It's all about politics. It's about internal conditions of the country. So this is a tricky situation, I feel. It is a very tricky situation. We will not be able to predict how to really motivate the tourists, but we have to work hand in hand, because without traveling, tourism will not take place. We need our airport to be open, and for airport to be open, the airline should agree on a certain tariff, and this is something quite complex, and I think that the big think tank should come together and think and try to come up with solution. And side by side, I would also like to add that, just like Dr. Hassan was saying, you know, I feel that for previously destinations like Egypt, a destination like Venice, Mauritius, probably yes. I'm talking about mass tourism destination. They were very successful because people, they like to travel in group and they're visiting things. It's cheaper sometimes. But now after that COVID, it is going to be the total contrary. I think that those destinations who were really successful, they will have to make lots of effort to come back, because that mass tourism thing, we have to put a big cross on that. This is a realistic perception I'm giving to you, because I don't think that tourists will be interested to go in mass, and even the tourism operators will not offer that. They are not going to be foolish enough to do that, you know. They would say no, because people will not come. So they will have to focus on individual alternative form of tourism, individual packages, and probably those who are selling destinations together, like clustering of destination like Morocco, Algeria, I want to say, or Egypt. They will have to focus on only one destination now, just to avoid that pandemic fear, or that, you know, that trauma. So this is something, I don't have an answer really to that question, but it depends on politics, governments, and collaboration from stakeholders.
Just for information, in Italy, the Sicily Islands is there. Now they're offering a completely flight ticket 50% discount, plus hotels also 50% discount, and all like museum, everything is free of cost here. They have started this tourism just 3 days back. They have started this one. But only the problem from India, we can't able to travel there actually.
Yes.
Okay, now, yeah.
No, I could add that, for example, in Latvia, they now we're now deciding, but we hope that it will be confirmed. So the government is ready to support with a special voucher system. So the government would invest in vouchers for the people who will be traveling within the country. So if I will go within my country to outside to some destination where I spend few nights, so government will subsidiary my travel. So I will be issued with a certain amount as a voucher, so I could spend within my country. So keep it in mind. I mean, like this domestic traveling will develop, and people have cars. We have trains, so we still have opportunity to travel without planes. It will be not far distances. The big minus is that I will not be able to sit in plane and come to India, unfortunately. But still within the Europe, where I could travel by trains and by cars and by buses, still we have a huge opportunity to develop this industry and continue work.
Yeah, before concluding here, now I would like to ask only one sentence by each of the panelists here now. Summarizing in one sentence.
So what should we do? You want us to summarize whatever we have said in one sentence?
Take away, yeah. Only one sentence.
What I want to say is that together with NITHM, I'm talking about India, we are going to convert the setback into comeback. And tourism will come back again. I'm sure, I'm confident.
Thank you.
So long we have got tourism experts like us around, it should come back. Let's be positive.
Thank you. Yeah.
Support Vanessa, and I would say don't stop, just do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to support both of them. I can say that tourism is a very resilient economic industry. Yes, it can be had for a specific period of time, but it will come back again.
Resilient.
And also, I would like to say something before we close. You know, as tourism expert, to understand tourism, we have to travel. So people of the world have to understand that if they want the tourism industry to continue, colleges to continue, university to continue, we need to travel. So open your borders and let us travel.
we request our Prime Minister to start this thing here, but I think it will take some time, maybe 1 month time. I don't know.
Yes.
She's searching for her own benefit. She wanted to go back to India again.
Not only India, around the world.
Yeah, thank you very much, all of you. Like now I request our professor, like assistant professor, like Hemant will propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Before vote of thanks, I would request everyone to set their cameras. So we'll take a group photograph. Is it okay? Can you all please click your make your hair proper and get ready for a photograph? Bhargav? Bhargav? Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah. Sir, మీరు కూడా తీయచ్చు సార్. Is it done, sir? Okay, guys. Thank you very much for your nice photograph. And finally, I would like to conclude. I would like to thank everyone, all the panelists, Ms. Galina, Dr. Vanessa, and Dr. Hassan for participating in our college webinar and giving us insight. And I think many of us have seen, many of our countries have seen terrorist attacks. After terrorist attack, we already went back and our tourism got success. Now this time it is infectious attack. So I think definitely tourism industry will get back, hopefully very soon. And I thank all ICS users. And this is, sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Hemant. Thank you very much, everyone. Like, hope to see you once again. Like next, after 10 days, we are going to connect the second webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
National Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Management, nurturing excellence, serving success.